Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Right now, we're in a war. We're in a trade war with China, so no shots are being fired. However, we are in a very important conflict with China that has everything to do with your money. I want you to understand what a trade war is, how it affects you, and what you can do about it. So stick with me for just a couple of minutes. This is going to be brief but impactful. Now, China is known as a currency manipulator. What that means is China intentionally decreases the value of its currency so that its goods and services that are produced in China, can appear less expensive on the global market. Now, we're China's largest trade partner. So what this does when they devalue their currency, it makes their products a lot less expensive in the United States. So we buy those products. Walmart is full of inexpensive Chinese-made goods. At the same time, since their currency is weaker than our dollar, it makes goods produced in the United States more expensive in China. So we have kind of a dual thing working there. We've got Americans who are being encouraged to purchase more Chinese goods because they're less expensive, and Chinese people who are being encouraged to buy fewer American goods because they're more expensive, all because of currency manipulation. A weak currency has the effect of making that country's products and services appear, or in reality, be less expensive on the world market. The other thing that China does, let's pretend for just a second that you own a company. It's a multinational company and you want access to China's 1 billion. They have approximately 1 billion people in China. You want access to that population of consumers. Well, a couple of things have to happen. You have to meet with the Chinese government. They will insist and assign you a Chinese partner who needs to own the majority of that enterprise that you're going to have put together in China. They also are going to want to have any intellectual property that you own for your company, for the goods or services that you're producing in China. So blueprints, engineering schematics, recipes, things of that nature. Now, remember, you've come over to China, you've surrendered your intellectual property, and you've partnered 51% or more with a Chinese national. What you're going to find is China's going to make it difficult for you to stay in the country, and they've already got your intellectual property. So what they can do with that naturally is produce your product on their own with that company you partnered with. That's an unfair trade practice, and that's something that China does routinely. So our way to retaliate against those moves has been to increase tariffs, and a tariff is just a tax on Chinese-made goods imported into America. So that's what the trade war is all about. Now, what are some of the items that are seeing these tariffs, these 25% tariffs or taxes? Well, appliances like washers and dryers, televisions, frozen foods even. These things are things that you, if you're in the market for, if you think you're going to be in the market for later on this year, you should probably buy now. It is May 15th, 2019. You should make a move now if you want to purchase one of these items. And you talk about frozen foods. Well, buy a freezer and stock it with frozen food. And that way you beat the tariffs. But let me give you a real world example. Apple. They've said that their newest iPhone is going to have a retail price of $1,000, but after the tariffs, it'll be $1,142. Now, you might say, well, that's not 25%. It's not. Apple is eating up some of that, but they're passing some of it on. So you're going to see higher prices on certain items as these tariffs, as they take hold. And another question you might have, which is a good one, is, wait a minute, Apple's an American company. Why is it that their iPhone is going to be subject to these tariffs? Well, remember, Apple produces the iPhone in China. They contract with a company called Foxconn. So that's why Apple's iPhone becomes an import. when it is sold here in America. All right, so finally, what can you do? Because this does affect you. This is going to take money out of your pocket potentially. Uh, what can you do? Well, as I just said, you can buy the products now before the tariffs kick in. You can also buy American, and that will, prevent you from having to be subject to these tariffs. Okay, that's another thing you can do. Also know that some of the companies that are producing goods in Hong Kong and Taiwan, they have signaled that they're going to be moving out of China until this trade war ends. They're going to manufacture their goods in places like Vietnam. Reason being, Vietnam's not subject to the tariffs. So if there are goods and services that are being manufactured in China and they move that manufacturing process out of China, then they will no longer be subject to the tariffs. So that's going to put a lot of pressure on China, okay? Because we're the biggest trading partner. So I believe, and we'll see. I believe that this will be relatively short-lived, and I think that we'll have a much more fair trade process come out of this in the end. All right. Play to prosper. It is important that you understand concepts like this. They talk about it on the news. They don't get too deep as to why it's happening. You need to understand it because it affects your pocketbook. Play to prosper. I will talk to you soon.